In this video, we're going to talk about how you can create a quiz in Moodle 4.0. To start, you're going to turn your editing button on in the upper right-hand corner, and then once the page loads, you're going to pick the part of your Moodle page where you want the quiz to appear. We already have a few quizzes that are created here in the first week and the third week, so let's put it here in the second week. So you're going to click Add an Activity or Resource, and then from the activity chooser, you're going to find where it says Quiz. Once that page loads, you're going to put the information in here that you need in order to create your quiz. So your quiz name is going to be whatever the title is. So we'll just say this is Quiz 2. And your description, you can put in your instructions for that quiz that you want the students to see. Then you have a whole bunch of parameters here that you're going to set according to whatever your quiz is and your preferences. So the first here is timing. If you expand that, you choose when you want to open the quiz, when you want to close the quiz, if you have a time limit, and then you would enable that, and that you would actually enable any of these items if you wanted to use them. As always, keep in mind that Moodle is Army time, so if you're going to put a time for your quiz, you would do that here, and your time limit, you would have to enable it. You have here under timing what to do when time expires. So that means if you set a time limit and that time is up, what happens then? By default, it says open attempts are submitted automatically, which means that regardless of where they are, those attempts will be submitted automatically. The other two options you have is that there's a grace period when open attempts can be submitted but no more questions answered, and you also have attempts must be submitted before the time expires or they are not counted. This is probably the best one to have because that way, regardless of where they are, that attempt will be submitted. In the grade section, once you expand that, you can put this item inside the grade category if you have that set up, which we actually do. So in our case, we're going to put that under the quizzes category. If you do have set a grade to pass, you can put that here as well. And if you do choose to use restricted access or activity completion and you're basing it on the grade to pass, this is where you would put that. The attempts allowed is set to unlimited, which means they can take it as many times as they like. Most of the time, if you're giving a quiz or a test, this is probably not what you would look for. So if you just want to give them one attempt, you could change that to 1. If you want to give them unlimited attempts, you can, and you could leave it as unlimited, and it'll ask you what the grading method is, which would be the highest grade. But in our case, we're going to make it 1. Then you have a few other options here. You have the layout. Do you want a new page for every question? Or do you want every 2 questions, every 3 questions? I'm going to leave mine as every question. Then it's the question behavior. Do you want to shuffle within the questions, which means the answers will be shuffled, not the actual questions themselves. So if you have a quiz and you would like all of the answers for multiple choice to be shuffled, you can do that here. Just be aware of the kind of questions that you give, because if you have ones that are, let's say, the answer is both A and D, that's going to be different for everybody. So just keep in mind, if you are going to shuffle within questions, that the answers within those multiple choice questions make sense. Here under review options is you're telling Moodle when do you want to allow the students to review all of their answers and any of these specific parameters. So immediately after the attempt, meaning they've submitted it, then they can see all of these things. If you don't want them to see anything until after the quiz is closed, you'll have to set a close date, and you'll also have to uncheck all of these. So you want to make sure you do that. The next thing here is appearance. So you can choose this. Usually this is just left the way that it is. Then you have the Safe Exam browser. Sometimes the Safe Exam browser can cause some trouble depending on the browser you're using and depending on if the students have downloaded it correctly. So most of the time I would recommend leaving this turned off, but that is where you can find it. If you want to put extra restrictions on attempts, you can do that here. Any overall feedback, if you want to create a grade boundary, so anything from 100% to, let's say you set the next grade boundary to 90%, you get a specific kind of feedback, and so on and so forth. As always, if you want to allow restrict access or activity completion on this quiz, you would set that up here. Once you're all done, you're going to click Save and Display, and that's going to go ahead and take you into this quiz here, and you'll be able to start adding questions. So in this video, all we're going to do is go over how to set up the quiz, which is what we've just done now. And then in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can create a question bank and show you a few of the changes that have been made to the quiz bank and setting up a quiz in Moodle 4.0.